Hello there, you're now with me, Razi Ahmad, for TVS English News at 5. Let's dive into the headlines for today. The Sarawak state government is funding the repairs for all mission schools despite the inadequate funding from the federal government to meet the needs of all schools. The Premier of Sarawak, Dato' Patigitan Sri Abang Johari Tun Openg, clarified that mission schools in Sarawak are legacies left behind by the LaSalle brothers, which inculcated values that made Sarawak what it is today.
If not because of education, I do not know where are we. But because of that spirit of togetherness, we are able to build our community in such high tolerance level. I, for one, also benefit from the mission school. And I think our friends here are also the same thing. So we are contributing back what we have benefited back to the society.
He said this when speaking at the Anglican Christmas Open House at St. Thomas Cathedral Parish Hall here on Monday. Abang Johari revealed that the Minister of Works, Datuk Seri Alexander Nanta Linggi, informed him that the federal government is facing constraints as there were inadequate funding to improve the schools in Kapit. Abang Johari added the state government has recently passed the Sovereign Wealth Future Fund Bill with the purpose to secure the future of Sarawakians. Meanwhile, he also reminded Sarawakians to protect and sustain the high degree of acceptance and tolerance among the different religions in Sarawak that has enabled all celebrations conducted in a very peaceful environment. Present in the event was Deputy Premier Dato' Amar Douglas Uga Embas, Minister of Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts Dato' Seri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah, as well as Sarawak Democratic Action Party DAP Chairman Chong Chien Jen and Bandar Kuching MP Dr. Kelvin Yee.
A family's Christmas celebration turned into a devastating affair after a family member, a trainee nurse, perished in a car crash at Mandamit Road near Kampung Bangkuwati, Limbang yesterday.
The victim, 22-year-old Dina Lorenza Christopher, was on the way home to celebrate Christmas in Kampung Bawang Rangas, Limbang, when the car she was in crashed head-on into a Pro2 Alza at around 4 p.m. Limbang District Police Chief Superintendent Parum Niot said preliminary investigation found that Dina, along with a male and female friend, was headed towards Tedungan, while the Pro2 Alza was headed towards Limbang town. The Pro2 Alza was believed to have swerved onto the opposite lane and crashed head-on into the Pro2 Kembara driven by the victim. In a statement today, Parum said the victim was found pinned at the driver's seat and was pronounced dead at the scene by a medical officer. Zone 7 Limbang Fire Chief Ramlan Marajan said a bomba team moved to extricate the two pinned drivers of the Kembara and Alza using a rescue tool. Meanwhile, the two passengers as well as the driver of the Pro2 Alza suffered serious injuries and were rushed to Limbang Hospital for treatment. The case is being investigated under Section 41, Subsection 1 of the Road Transport Act 1987.
The landslide at the father's organic farm in Batangkali on December 16 is Malaysia's second worst disaster in terms of fatalities. According to the Special Malaysia Disaster Assistance and Rescue Team, SMART, the Highland Towers condominium collapse in 1992 was the worst tragedy, claiming 48 lives.
31 people were killed in the 2:30 a.m. landslide, but 61 survived after tons of earth came crashing down on the farm campsite. 18 of those killed were adults and 13 were children, with 20 bodies recovered from Sector A, 1 from Sector B, and 10 from Sector C. Smart Commander Muhammad Khairul Jamil said he was shocked by the number of victims in the landslide when they received an emergency call in the wee hours of that day.
Pengalaman yang saya dapat ni satu perkara yang mengejutkan lah. Sebab sebelum ini yang kita lihat rentetan daripada kes-kes sebelum ini hanya 2 orang, 3 orang, 6 orang. Tapi bila melibatkan 100 orang mangsa, jadi menjadi kerisauan kepada saya. So saya menggerakkan pasukan saya untuk berada di site lah, untuk membantu mana yang boleh dibantu.
The Ministry of Health, MOH, has begun drawing up plans to resolve the issue of overcrowding in emergency and trauma departments. Now, according to Health Minister Dr. Zaliha Mustafa, this is in order to provide more efficient services to the people.
Dr. Zaliha said the ministry was also looking at all the latest data, conducting audit and research related to the workload and overcrowding of emergency and trauma departments nationwide to identify problems faced by the department. Dr. Zaliha added, in order to find out the specific problems and needs according to each state, the ministry will hold engagement sessions in various quarters and relevant stakeholders. This includes the Malaysian Medical Association, MMA, the Association of Private Hospitals Malaysia, APHM, and the private sector. Dr. Zaliha further said the MOH consistently put forth efforts to address the issue by also requesting funds and additional staff from the government to overcome the issues of lack of allocation and shortage of manpower, equipment, and infrastructure. Meanwhile, she said the ministry would also look at the potential of strategic collaboration with the private sector, including general medical practitioners, to further strengthen primary healthcare. She said the overcrowding issue had also been reported in the Auditor General's Report 2018, which stated that the congestion were caused by insufficient allocations, a shortage of health personnel, and lack of facilities to meet patients' needs.
Welcome back. A deadly blizzard incapacitated both Buffalo and New York, trapping people in their cars, knocking out electricity, and increasing the death toll from a harsh winter storm that froze the United States for days. The New York Governor, Kathy Hochul, called it a once-in-a-lifetime disaster, adding that President Joe Biden has agreed to oblige her request for a federal disaster declaration.
The National Guard is here. Lastly, I'll say I've been in contact with the White House. Just spoke in the last hour with Ron Klain, the Chief of Staff to President Biden. He has assured me that within a very short time of them receiving our request for a disaster declaration, it will be granted. And that is good news for us to be able to start covering the cost of this epic, once-in-a-lifetime storm that we're now having to deal with. So that is an update from the White House. The President is very concerned about this. He said, whatever you need from the White House, we'll be there for you, and I'm grateful to President Biden for that support as well.
Meanwhile, Erie County Executive Mark Polokas said the blizzard's confirmed deaths climbed to 12 from 3 on Christmas just overnight in Buffalo region.
Unfortunately, we have 12 deaths that have been confirmed by the Erie County Department of Health Medical Examiner Office. I can specifically note that 6 were in the city of Buffalo, 3 were in the town of Amherst, of which 1 of them was in the village of Amherst, located in the town. 3 were in the town of Cheektowaga, of which 1 of them was in the village of Depew in the town of Cheektowaga. The youngest individual was age 26. The oldest individual was age 93. And unfortunately, we do believe, based on reports we're getting from the field, we are going to get a number, hopefully not a significant number, but a number of additionally confirmed deaths in the next 6 hours because of bodies that have been found but have not yet been transported to hospital for identification and confirmation of death. To all who've lost a loved one, and some of those folks may not even know it yet, just you have our deepest condolences. This has just been a horrible, the worst type of storm you can imagine. And you have my deepest condolences on behalf of the people of Erie County for the loss of a loved one on Christmas Day.
As China is grappling with a new wave of COVID-19 infections, its people were seen crowding and waiting at hospital clinics. Doctors in Beijing said the hospitals are struggling and there are fears that the patients may have to be turned away due to lack of resources. As China's National Health Commission, NHC, confirmed that there were almost 400,000 symptomatic cases as of December 22nd, and the numbers have surely risen since then.
There was no preparation. Like, nobody knew. Like, the decision was made on a Sunday, and on Monday, people were showing up in the ER saying, you know, oh, I don't need to scan, I don't need to get tested, you know, and then they started showing up sick. But, you know, there was no stockpiling of medications. You know, the hospital is just overwhelmed from top to bottom. So, you know, the ER filled up with people. A lot of them got admitted to the hospital. They're not getting better in a day or two, so there's no flow. And therefore, people keep coming to the ER, but they can't go upstairs into hospital rooms, so they're stuck in the ER.
Sonia Jutard-Bourreau, Chief Medical Officer at Beijing's Raffles Medical Hospital, said that turning away patients will come sooner than expected as resources are running out.
As a private facility, usually we never refuse patients. No. And it's possible that we arrive there, because we don't have beds anymore, or, enough resources to treat the patient.
At the same time, funeral homes and crematoriums in the country are reportedly struggling to meet demands. British-based health data firm Airfinity last week estimated that China was experiencing more than 1 million infections and 5,000 deaths a day.
Now, as China records a 6-day streak with no COVID-19 related deaths, residents in Jinan of the Shandong province took the chance to mourn the ones they have lost. Large crowds of people gathered at a funeral parlor as video footage shows dozens of people and vehicles were crowding outside the gate of the funeral home. Many were seen as frustrated due to the overwhelming crowd who were subjected to ruthless curbs implemented in the country to control COVID-19 infections. Now, China's President Xi Jinping eased restriction earlier this month, which effectively opened the country's borders to the reopen. Now, prior to this, restrictions meant that each individual in China was subject to lockdowns and relentless testings, which involves multiple stages. Well, that's all the time we have for TVS News at 5. I'm Razi Ahmad. Thank you for watching.